Hey, coming to talk to you again about another airway technique that we can utilize when placing endotracheal tubes. So what we're going to talk about today is using a bougie. And if you're not familiar with a bougie, it is this flexible device right here. And the purpose of it is if we're having a view that's not really great of the vocal cords, that we can utilize this to actually place it through the vocal cords and then guide our endotracheal tube over it so that we can get proper placement. And what you're going to see is, if you can look at it here, you're going to see two different ends of this. You're going to see one end that is straight, and then you're going to see one end that has a curvature to it. So we're going to be actually placing the end with the curvature down in through the airway and into the trachea. And there's a specific purpose behind that, which I'll go over here with you in just a minute. So again, let's talk about how we're going to place this airway. So for devices that we're going to need obviously our laryngoscope handle and blade. We're going to need the bougie, and then we're going to need an endotracheal tube. Now, if you're using a bougie, you'll actually use an endotracheal tube without a stylette. We'll show you why. So, first step, we're going to do a direct laryngoscopy on our patient. So the patient's been put to sleep. We're ready to now do our direct laryngoscopy to intubate our patient. So we get them in a sniffing position. We scissor the mouth open. We then place the blade in there on the right side, sweep up and out to see if we see the vocal cords. And right now I've got a very kind of poor view of the vocal cords. So now what I'm going to do is say, okay, I see the vocal cords, but I don't feel like I have a great view to actually place the endotracheal tube. So what I'm now going to do is use my bougie. So again, somewhat of a good view, but not a great view. So now I'm going to be handed my bougie, or use my bougie here. And again, I want to use this end here, which actually has the curvature to it. What I'm going to do now is insert this into the oral airway, and then I'm going to insert it into the area where I said I saw my vocal cords. Now, as it's going through the trachea, and the reason you have that curvature there is because I really, at this point in time, should, as I'm running it through the trachea, I should feel it bumping, because that's why we see that curvature on it, is because the tracheal rings on the anterior portion here of the trachea, we should feel those tracheal rings, and that curvature part of it will be bumping across that, and that's what you feel at that point in time. That helps confirm that you're actually in the trachea. Now, once I have this in the trachea, if I have an assistant with me, they're then going to place, or if I don't, I'm going to do this, is place this endotracheal tube over the bougie. So now we start sliding the endotracheal tube over the bougie, and you're usually going to have somebody around with you at this point when you're doing this. You want them to hold the bougie so that it does not slide further in and you lose your spot, or it doesn't slide out and lose your spot. So at this point, they would be holding this, and then I'm going to continue to visualize as I'm doing this and watch my endotracheal tube actually go through the vocal cords as I'm placing this tube. Once that is done, once you have seen it visually go through the cords, then you're going to pull your blade out. You're going to have the bougie pulled out at this point in time. You're now going to inflate your pilot balloon and your cuff, and then you're going to connect your circuit and squeeze your reservoir bag to see that you now have inflation of your lungs, to know that you've actually had successful placement of the endotracheal tube using the bougie. So I hope this helped you understand a little bit more about using a different device to help guide insertion of the endotracheal tube. So thanks for following me.